Oh, it's you. I didn't notice you. I was just reading infectious diseases. You're probably wondering, how do I know so much? There are so many bugs and there is so little time. How could you possibly learn what I know? Well, I'll tell you, and I'll tell you through stories. Meet Tina. Tina was a patient I saw during my residency. She was a 22-year-old dancer, previously healthy, no medication. She was sexually active, didn't do smoke or do drugs. But Tina wasn't the kind of dancer you're picturing. Tina, instead, was an adult dancer who wore these tall boots. And one day, in the swirl of events, a zipper caught on her thigh. She didn't think much of it. She danced that night and felt perfectly fine. The next day, there was a little redness at the place where the zipper caught on her thigh. The following day, by 5 p.m., she went to the ER with spreading redness and dizziness, was found to be hypotensive, taken to the intensive care unit, and then immediately thereafter rushed to the operating room to try to remove some of the infection that was rapidly spreading around her body and trying to take her life. Now you want to know what caused this. You want to know what sorts of treatments we used to try to save Tina's life. Why would they work? Which ones would be wrong? How could you avoid making a mistake? This is the power of stories. And in this course, we'll try to center your learning around stories. What are the archetypal stories of pneumonia or urinary tract infection, or in this case, a skin and soft tissue infection run amok? What are the stories that you can use to coalesce the information you'll learn? But that's not all. There are other ways to get to this happy place in which infectious diseases attendings live. We've heard from you that sometimes spending hour after hour in the lecture hall is not the best use of your time. Therefore, we're not going to do that, or else we're going to de-emphasize that. What other ways can we engage you that might be more efficient? This is how we do it. We have parsed our topics into sequences that go like this in most cases. You review on your own. Your independent review is actually a powerful way to learn. I've heard from some students that us relying on review is in some way educational malpractice, because aren't we supposed to be saying it to you to deliver your educational value? No. Funny, but no. In fact, the teaching comes later. We think that our teaching and your learning intersect better when you know a little bit as you show up to the experience. And one way to get there is to teach each other. If you teach a topic, you know it better than ever before. Also, if you have us to guide your teaching along those lines and to help you through the more complicated topics, that helps too. So, then after you've taught each other, after you've done the independent review, you'll take a quiz. You take a quiz partly so you know where you are in your learning experience, but partly because that is teaching. And I'll show you what I mean. But, I don't think that, the fullest experience of medical school comes from reading and teaching each other in a quiz. That's great, and I think you'll realize that that's, you already probably know that that's a huge part of your learning. But we want to be there for you on the challenging stuff, to help you get the concepts, to help you convert the facts that you're learning into something that you can mobilize for your patients. In your review, you should read the material in the iBook. That's where the money is. And you should be making connections during your reading along the lines shown here. What causes cellulitis? Well, that's mostly group A strep. I think you should make that an active process. You can read it in a table that I provide for you like this, but it's just not going to go in as well and stay in the iBook. The iBook is what you should read. That's where the money is. That's where the test questions come from. That's the stuff we think you need to know. It's not everything you need to be ready third year, and so we're going to teach you about the rest. But if you just want to know what's covered, what facts, that's where it is. There are some archived Echo 360 videos of lectures that cover some of the material that we're not covering in lectures here, and that's only as needed. It's not something you need to do to understand the material. It's not something you need to do well on the test. But if you would like to have that additional source of review, that's in there. The quizzes are helpful for you because they help you learn, but also they are like the final. Some topics are a little bit more difficult and sort of need some framing so that your reading is coherent, your small group discussion is framed. And so I've highlighted certain topics, HIV, tuberculosis, and parasitic infections among them. I think that's really helpful to do, and we still do old-style, interactive lectures, although I think you'll be shocked by the charisma of the participating faculty. Some topics don't need that kind of framing, either because it's a simpler topic or because it's not something that I'm emphasizing in this course. In the small group sessions, we have a particular approach. You'll read independently in the iBook to make sure you have the background knowledge. That's how you'll keep up with your peers in the small group sessions. You should come ready to teach. The idea isn't to sort of tell each other the material that's in the iBook, but really more to use that knowledge that you already have to apply to a clinical case. It'll start with a bread and butter case, but we'll get it more sophisticated so that you'll be able to test your knowledge and sort of intensify your knowledge. To make sure the session goes well, you should have a timekeeper and a facilitator like in other small group sessions you've done. And then at the end, I think it can be helpful to have the timekeeper save a few minutes at the end, as you know, to make sure that the process you're using is working so that next time it's better. So why so many quizzes? Archived editorial comment. Well, so Roddy Rodiger has been a leader in the field, showing that the more students take tests, the more they learn. And in fact, although students feel like they learn more by review, by hitting the books and reading more in big books, that has its uses, but actually retrieving the information is much more potent way to do it. And so many of you do study with quiz questions. And so I am going to test you over and over and over again, and I would advise you that you augment that experience by doing tests yourself. So I'll test you in the chapters, I'll test you in these quizzes, and I'll test you in the final exam, and really in the interactions in the small group, you're testing each other on your knowledge. Did you get this? Was this clear? Wait a second, help me understand this because I didn't get it. You're asking questions. That's how knowledge is formed. Those quizzes will focus on the recent material, what we just taught you in the prior lectures, but all prior topics are fair game, so it's a good idea for you to sort of study the previous chapters too. That'll help you stay up and help you do well on the quiz. The quiz is a closed book online quiz, and you'll have two chances. That means that if something goes wrong and you studied the wrong material, or there was a computer malfunction, or you decided to run the Boston Marathon during that time, you have another chance to get there. You will get credit for engagement to some degree, but if you get 80% or higher on the quiz, then you get more credit for that. And since there are 7 quizzes, that adds up to 14% of your grade. I've had a lot of students contact me in the previous years to say, such and such happened in my personal life, and could I have an extension on the quiz? Or, my computer wasn't working, and could I have an extension? The two chances is designed to make it so that our interactions can be about the clinical medicine and not about stuff like that. Obviously, if a major illness or a death in the family happens and you need to miss a bunch of quizzes and we need to make special arrangements, do that. But try to think of the two-chance system as a way that our interactions can be worthwhile. In the review sessions, we'll go through the questions that challenge the class on the quiz and make sure that the concepts that we were getting at were clear. And we'll also sort of boil it down. What were pearls that we wanted you guys to take out of the learning experience? The full toolkit against infections is not only about treating infections, but about detecting infections. There's been a lot of epidemics in the news lately, and so you see how important that is. You also need to prevent the spread of infection, whether it's personal protective precautions or measures we take to try to prevent the spread in a vulnerable population. And social justice, therefore, is a really huge part of it, and we'll engage each of these topics in different sessions. For instance, in the social justice arena, we'll have a conversation about full range of management in our HIV clinic so that the social determinants of health are not ignored by our clinical practice. So learn the notes. The videos are optional. Teach the key points in small groups. Learn from the quizzes and quiz yourself. Review the sessions. We'll cover the key topics and help focus your learning and get you ready for clinical practice. And I know that you're totally obsessed with the boards, and fortunately, graduates of this class do incredibly well on the boards, 2 standard deviations above the national mean, and your performance in this class correlates with your performance in the boards. And so I think we're preparing you for it. But of course, this is about saving lives. And so we are teaching to the test in a way, but really, we're teaching to the patient. Back to work. Are you still there? It is fascinating. Oh, Tina! I completely forgot in the middle of all my learning. Tina actually had a rough road. She spent about a month in the hospital. She had 3 surgeries on her leg to try to beat back the bacterium that was ravaging her body faster than even antibiotics and ICU care could stop. Because this was from group A strep, as I told you earlier, many soft tissue infections are, we gave her penicillin, but then, for reasons you'll learn, we also gave her clindamycin, not because of its antibacterial properties, but because of something special it does. There were major facets of sepsis care outlined in the sepsis session that you'll learn about that I also think saved her life. She was in the ICU and then after, and had many complications after that. Tina really was traumatized by this experience, but she had a great spirit. She ended up quitting dancing and went to nursing school because she wanted to be able to give back to the community that gave to her. It was a great save, but not the ideal outcome. She really had a hard time, and so there's more to learn, and I hope you'll help us get there.